Hi guys, so welcome to the fourth week now. I hope you've enjoyed the first three sessions. We've had some good feedback so far, so let's keep the practice up. Now we're going to just come to the shorter end of the holes and look at our chipping and short pitching. Okay, so we're going to take a look at the clubs we might want to try and use now and just see what differences we get out of them. So we've got an 8, a wedge and a sand edge, or a 54-degree sand wedge. Now I've deliberately left a gap in between them so that we can see a difference in the amount of roll we get from each club. Okay, now I'm going to talk about roll. It's about the release of the ball versus trying to stop the ball, because stopping the ball can be really difficult, especially in the summer. So if we get a guesstimate of how much each club rolls, this then gives us an idea where to bounce the ball to get the ball to release towards the hole. And even when we're going over obstacles and whatever, it might make it easier for you to choose not necessarily go for the lob wedge to get it over the obstacle, but you might still have space to roll the ball to the pin, therefore may influence your club selection and let you chip it a little bit closer. Okay, so we're going to look first at the 8 iron and what it will do for us. Okay, I have a rule of thumb for this club. It's about 70% roll. Okay, as long as we bring the club through nice and evenly accelerated and we're not stabbing at it or snatching at it, which is going to really change the acceleration you get. If we bring it through nice and smoothly, it's going to be about 70% roll. Now let's take a look at the setup. Now any swing below waist height should always be feet almost together. Okay, maximum golf ball width between your toes, just to here. We don't need a bigger stance than that. What we're after is to be able to just sweep the ground nice and consistently as we've been practicing over the last few weeks. Now, so this is my rule of thumb from here. So I'm trying to figure out where 30-ish% is. Now, I sometimes take a wide angle. I'll just come away from my shot and I'll just assess where halfway is. And then I figure out that if I land this ball on the green, which is ideally where I want to land it, rather than use the fringe. We use the fringe in some circumstances, but here we can comfortably land the ball a few feet on the green and we should be able to get it to roll out towards the flag. So all I'm doing there is coming out sideways to give myself a better feel for where I want to land the ball, so I can almost look at it sideways on. Okay, now then, back to setup. We're looking at down the handle, feet nice and close together, and imagine you've just got a nice long putt. You can see we're not looking to get steep at this, very much looking to sweep and just clip that ball away. Let's have a little go. So there's my little earmark onto the green. That's giving us a chance with our next putt. Okay, now we're going to have a look at the pitching wedge. Mine's about 46 degrees. Now, usually a pitching wedge will roll about 60% of the way. Okay, certainly not going to land it past halfway because it will run past the hole. Okay, so again, same as the 8 iron, have an assessment. I sometimes take a wide angle, I'll take a look and go, right, there's my halfway point as a visual. So I've got an area in the green I can see within the cuts that I want to try and land my ball, and that's my visualization. Now, because I've used this previously and the greens are as they are, we know that this is going to roll about 60%. So I've got a little zone I've focused on. Doesn't have to be overly precise, just an area in the green. Giving me a chance with my next putt. Okay, so I've now made it to the 54 degree. So again, my rule of thumb here is over halfway, so about 40% roll, so about 60% through the air. Now, personally, I probably wouldn't use this in this situation because I've got no obstacle to go over. So the 8 iron is probably one of the better shots to play from here because I can land the ball closer to me and it's a lot easier to control the distance. However, we are going to play it. So again, we're going to go about 60% flight. I'm just going to take a little step out. I know where 50 is approximately. So I can got a zone in the green that I feel is just beyond halfway. And keep trying to keep that spot in mind. Now let's see what happens again. So again, note the setup, very small stance, not a lot of shaft lean. We're not looking to dig, we're looking to just let that bounce, sweep nicely under the ball. In a way, I call this the putt chip, because we're not looking to take any divot. We're basically just letting that sole of the club slide along the ground. So let's have a little go at this one. I'm going to land it over halfway. Okay, so clearly not every chip we have is going to be flat, right? So we can see from those little shots that I played that those theories with regards to the amount of roll we get are approximately correct. So what happens if we're chipping downhill? Well, I generally find that if we are going downhill and it's not overly severe, if you then use the pitching wedge into the 8-iron landing zone, therefore the pitching wedge might roll that 70% of the way, then that lets you drop that club into the 8-iron landing zone and keep going as well, the 54 maybe into the pitching wedge landing zone, and even if you've got a more lofted club, the lob, a 58 or a 60 into the sound wedge landing zone. Okay, conversely, going a little bit uphill, you could nudge those up a little bit and maybe swap up the 8 into the pitching wedge landing area, and so on and so forth. Now that is something that you can play around with, and I'm not saying that these flight roll ratios are going to be exact. However, you should try and figure out your own and have a little bit of a practice at working out what your ratios are, so that you get an understanding of the amount of roll you get from each chip. Once you get that, you're visualizing A, where you want to land the ball, B, how much roll am I going to get from that point, therefore which club should I use. Right then, so the infamous fourth, where a lot of us tend to end up coming into this green. Now if we ever want to have a shot that we leave down here, it would be down this left hand side if we can avoid the bunker, because you're always chipping uphill. Okay, so we've put one here, one in the bottleneck, and then we've missed one to the right hand side of the green. I'm going to try and play them all as I would. We'll see whether I play them well or not, but this is how I'm taking this in at the minute. So first one, it's quite severely uphill. There's going to be a lot of slope from right to left. To land the ball on the green, having a little wide angle look, is at least halfway, and it's all uphill. Now I could choose the 54 or the pitching wedge here. Now I'm going to opt for the pitching wedge, just because I want the ball to be able to release up that slope a little bit more, because the flight will be a little bit lower than with the sound wedge, and I think it might bounce a bit more consistently than landing on a slope where that sound wedge might get bounced offline. So there's a flattish zone just on the green at the front, and because we're going uphill, I think we can go to more 50-45% roll with this. So I'm going to just, that's how I see it, and I'm going to play it from here. So looking to land it 6 foot right and a few feet on the green. Okay, and there, as I said, the pitching wedge up the hill just got that bit of extra roll out. It didn't bite its feet in too quickly, and it's ended up really close. So second one, again here, have a little look. So 50% is definitely on the green, 8-iron definitely isn't on the green, however it's an option, but landing the 8-iron into the fringe on an uphill might just pull the ball up a little bit quickly. I'm going to try with both. Let's do both. Let's do the pitching wedge. So I'm going to visualize about halfway, because it's landing into an uphill slope. I'm hitting this way up to the right here. Okay, so I managed to play that really nicely. Maybe I should play more often. And now I'm going to try with the 8-iron. So from here now, the 8-iron, we're looking at nudging it up a little bit from that 70% maybe to 60% roll because we're going uphill. So this is just putting things into perspective, how I visualize and use it. So I'm going to land this just short of the green. Okay, it's just going to come up a little bit shy, but not a bad attempt in the end. Now, as a chip miss, I've been aiming to try and hold those, which I normally do on a chip, but as a chip miss here, you're probably best to try and leave it below the pin, because anything coming down there from the putt is really slippery. So even trying to let the ball slip down below the hole isn't a bad idea here. Okay, right, we've got one more. And this isn't a very nice position. So already walking up the hill, I can feel how severe it is. We'll have a little look. About 10 feet off the green. So can we use an 8-iron? Yes, we can. But we're going to have to land it in the fringe and maybe up the roll to about 80–85%. So I'm going to try it with that, to be fair, because I feel it's going to bounce nice and consistently. So we're going to use the fringe, picking my landing zone. That's where I want to go. Now I'm trying to use the slope to let it fall down. So there you can see I've used the 8. Now then, that wasn't bad for distance. I've slightly misread the slope. I'm going to try that as well. Not with the 54, but just with a pitching wedge. So you can see that it's not always a sand wedge go-to around the green. Yeah, a lot of people just go straight to that Vokey or the new TaylorMade wedge they've just bought. But quite often, just one of your irons will do a great job for you. So here, we're normally talking 60% roll. We're going to bring this into the edge of the green. I'm going to allow a bit more for the slope this time. Oh, still didn't allow enough for the slope, but you can see there, adjusting my landing zone has still given me a decent chance of holding that next putt for me. So there's a few in-play situations, if you like, to help you make and decide what you want to do with each shot. But chipping for me is one of two things. It's A, picking where you want to land the ball on the green, ideally, not always possible. B, from there, how much roll do I get? If I get, then I choose the club for the amount of roll. This now paints a picture in my mind of how I'm going to chip. I often get somebody come for a chipping lesson and they, oh, I don't know, I just hit it and I look at the flag and hope. Now you've got a picture, you can almost visualize. If you can visualize, you can play the shot. Okay, it's a little bit about like throwing or rolling a ball. If I wanted to land the ball right out there, I would be throwing upwards. But even here, if I'm going to roll the ball down to that flag, I'm thinking of just going there. And I visualized it, felt it, and rolled it down almost perfectly, in fact. But that's the kind of thing. Visualize the trajectory, visualize the roll, what club will give you that, play that shot.